past the hour. I will start, and of course, more people are welcome to join anytime. So again, welcome today at the Africa. Welcome today to our session past the hour. I will start, and of course, more people are welcome to join anytime. Okay. Do I continue? Okay. Okay, so sorry again for some technical issues. So first, I would like to thank the forum and our host for their excellent organization and welcoming atmosphere. We are delighted to join you today to exchange ideas and hear perspectives on internet governance matters that hold significant relevance for our continent and have far-reaching implications for the future of global internet governance. In this session, we will be discussing the complex intersection of ethics and governance in AI, with the objective of highlighting the importance of integrating human value and accountability in AI systems and applications, starting from the design stage. We will touch on AI governance models, the role of multilateral diplomacy, and the role of civil society. In this session, we introduce and promote the idea of AI by design. Our speakers in alphabetical order are Ambassador Amr El-Goueli, and I invite him to introduce himself. Ambassador Amr, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Engineer Hadia. First of all, for all the efforts that you have put to convene this session, and congratulations to the Egyptian Internet Society, Internet Misr, for taking the initiative and for the organization. I'd like, allow me to also start by congratulating Nigeria and all its internet community for hosting the African Internet Governance Forum. It's very timely, and we can see the rich program that they have put together is a reassurance that Africa is on track, thinking about those crucial issues for its future. So my name is Amr El-Goueli. I'm an AU official Egyptian diplomat, as well as an academic and a writer. I do participate, as we have exchanged together, I do participate here in my personal capacity as a visiting faculty to a number of institutions, including the Diplo Foundation, the UN Institute for Training and Research, and other. So while I do have a diplomatic day function, my evening function, if I call so, would actually be an academic and a researcher in international relations, but particularly also related to information society. So thank you once again for the invitation to participate, and looking forward to a rich discussion.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Amr. Ms. Noha Ashraf, I invite you to introduce yourself. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Hadia, and thank you for organizing this session. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in this early session. So my name is Noha Abdelbaki. I'm an engineer, cloud engineer by profession, but I've been an advocate, an activist in internet governance spaces and ecosystem, especially in youth and women empowerment and IG. I've been interested lately in internet and in AI governance and how to shape the future of our AI and how to make a meaningful usage of the AI applications. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope that you enjoy our session. Thank you.
Thank you again, Noha. So I will introduce Dr. Sally Golistan. And she will also, she sent us a pre-recorded video. Dr. Sally Golistan is Chief Digital Officer of the United Nations Environment Program and former advisor to the Egyptian Minister of ICT. And finally, I introduce myself. I'm Hadia El-Minyawi. I am Chief Expert on International Policies at the National Telecom Regulatory Authority of Egypt and an engineer by training. I must say, though, that this session belongs to ISOC Egypt. And this is ISOC Egypt session at the Africa IGF happening here in Abuja. So with I need to say also that I will be taking the role of the session moderator as well, because due to some unforeseen events, most of our session team were not able to join us physically and are participating remotely from different places across the globe. So let's begin the session. I would like to have the slides on the screen, please. Thank you. Let's go to the next page. Next page, please. Yeah, thank you. So let's begin by looking at some quotes related to the concept of AI by design. AI by design means putting human values at the heart of technology development and ensuring that AI respects human dignity. European Commissioner for Innovation and Youth. AI by design is about creating technology that respects human rights and values, ensuring that AI benefits all of humanity. Google. AI by design means thinking about the consequences of our technology decisions early in the process and incorporating ethical principles into the fabric of AI systems. That's Microsoft. If we could have the next slide, please. AI by design is not just about what technology can do, it's about what it should do for the betterment of society. The true power of AI by design lies in its ability to transfer technology from a potential risk to a force for good. Those were a few quotes about the concept itself. So now let's answer the question, what is AI by design? So AI by design represents a proactive approach to responsible AI development, aiming to prevent ethical and societal issues rather than addressing them after deployment. So why is AI by design crucial in the development of AI technologies? It's because it places ethics and responsibility at the forefront of AI development. This ensures that AI technologies align with ethical principles, human rights, and societal values. AI by design highlights transparency in AI decision-making. This means that AI systems are designed to provide explanations for their actions, making it easier to understand and hold them accountable for their behavior. AI by design gives priority to users' experience, ensuring that AI technologies are designed with the well-being and needs of individuals in mind. This results in AI systems that are more user-friendly and respectful of user rights. AI by design incorporates robust data privacy and security measures, protecting sensitive information and complying with data protection regulations. It ensures that AI technologies adhere to relevant laws and regulations, reducing the risk of legal issues and regulatory violations that can lead to fines and reputational damage. AI by design proactively identifies and mitigates potential risks and challenges associated with AI deployment. This includes addressing issues related to safety, reliability, and unintended consequences. Sustainability. AI by design considers the environmental impact of AI systems, promoting energy efficiency and responsible resource usage to minimize the ecological footprint of AI technologies. AI by design includes mechanisms for human oversight and intervention, especially in critical decision-making processes. By following ethical and responsible AI practices from the start, AI by design helps build and maintain trust among users, stakeholders, and the general public. Trust is essential for the successful adoption of AI technology. When AI technologies are designed with ethical and responsible principles, they are more adaptable to changing circumstances and scalable for different applications and industry. So new futures, new possibilities. Next slide, please. So what are the factors that contribute to the emergence of AI by design? Factors that contributed to the emergence of AI by design include ethical concerns related to AI, such as bias in algorithms, privacy violations, which led to a growing recognition of the need for responsible AI development. The development of AI ethics, guidelines and principles by organizations, researchers, institutes, further emphasize the importance of incorporating ethical considerations into AI design. Also increased AI adoption. As AI technologies become more integrated into everyday life and industries, there was awareness of the need to address ethical and societal challenges proactively. Also, public discussions and debates surrounding AI, including high-profile incidents and controversies, contributed to the recognition of AI's ethical and social implications. And later today in the session, we will actually be giving practical examples and showing how those actually play in those fit in the AI use cases that we are going to present. Also, regulatory initiatives. Governments and regulatory bodies around the world began exploring AI regulations and standards, highlighting the importance of ethical AI practices in compliance and oversight. Industry initiatives, tech companies, AI researchers, and industry groups started adopting AI ethics and responsible AI practices within their organizations, promoting AI by design as a best practice. Academic research. Academic research in the fields of AI, ethics, fairness, accountability, transparency, and bias mitigation played a crucial role in shaping the concept of AI by design. So while there isn't a single point of origin for the concept of AI by design, it represents the efforts by various stakeholders to promote ethical, responsible, and human-centric AI development, which continues to evolve as AI technologies advance. So with this extensive introduction, and now that we have set the scene of our session, let's start our first conversation with Ambassador Amr. So Ambassador Amr, the question is to you. What are the main options for global AI governance models?
Thank you very much once again, Engineer Hadiam. And the question that you pose is the most relevant one. I'm here more in a listening mode because I'm a diplomat and all of you are the engineers and the technicals. So we stand to learn a lot from you about the features, the defining features of this powerful phenomenon that we're witnessing, AI. I would simply like to maybe draw us back to the larger context, the more global context in which we can address and tackle the issue of AI. particularly from a governance and a global governance perspective, as you've put rightly in your question. So this is not the first time that the international community attempts to frame and define how to tackle issues related to information and communication technology, because exactly 20 years ago, in 2003, heads of states and government convened in Geneva in the World Summit on Information Society to address how this whole information and communication revolution is impacting society in general. And I think the choice of World Summit on Information Society rather than on information technology or on information and communication technology is quite telling, that the impact that we are seeing due to the introduction of these new tools and platforms is on society as a whole. So I would say that we stand on more or less solid ground, that 20 years ago the world convened at the highest level to address the information society in general. That represents a useful precedent, a useful example based on which we can develop further again how we attempt to govern and deal with a technology and a phenomenon, I would say, because it's much more than a technology, as powerful as information technology. So usually academics and maybe even diplomats start by attempting to define the phenomenon or define the issue. And I would say for us to identify what would be different models, as you put it, for governing artificial intelligence, we have to unpack artificial intelligence. We can even define it, but I know defining it is even a more challenging task, because there are more or less different definitions, particularly in the scope. But if we unpack artificial intelligence, I think most of us would agree that it has three main components. It has the component of data, the component of algorithms, how to process that data and what to make with it, and the computational capacity. So why are we speaking more now than before about artificial intelligence? Because at this historical juncture, it seems that the three have fused. We have an incredible amount of data. We have substantially increased our computational capacity, although of course that stands even to continuously increase in the future. And we have developed the models of algorithms that are capable of processing these. So governance or global governance for artificial intelligence would probably be needed on those three strands: global governance with relation to data, global governance with relation to algorithms, and global governance with relation to computational capacity, and developing the principles for each of these that would make it just, open, transparent, and predictable, reliable tool or phenomenon. So I think if we unpack AI accordingly, then we could develop or project different mechanisms and venues for global governance on each of these. Now, as we have unpacked AI, I think we can also unpack governance and global governance so that we see where they both meet. And I always speak about the DNA model of multilateral diplomacy, which is one major venue of global governance. What is that DNA? It's not a scientific biological explanation of the genome, but rather it is that we have three phases of international engagement when we address an issue collectively or globally. We have the deliberations phase, we have the negotiations phase, and we have the taking action phase. So when we speak about global governance for AI, we need to design processes that would satisfy the deliberations phase, basically allowing the different actors to pronounce themselves and their views and perspectives on AI. Then is that the only objective or task? No, it's a task to reach an objective that is a collective outcome. So how do we reach that collective outcome? It's through negotiations, by also designing a process of negotiation, of exchange between the different actors in order to reach a defined outcome that would take into consideration the interests, the needs of all the participating actors. So here we see that we are again not starting from scratch, but we would see that the UN Secretary General Guterres has proposed 3 models that we can or 3 examples that we can benefit from. He spoke of the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. He spoke of ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Agency, and he spoke of the IPCC on climate change. So we do have examples and precedents in the past for governing phenomena that impact and affect the world population on the whole. And this is where really the fusion between technologists or technical experts like you and the other speakers and the diplomats who have seen the evolution of global governance mechanisms and principles and regimes earlier with other phenomena. Usually we differentiate between the intergovernmental perspective, which is one that is restricted to the participation of member states of the UN or other international organizations, and multi-stakeholder phenomena. And I think they are not mutually exclusive. Once again, I will rely on the World Summit on Information Society 20 years ago, 2003, when it was very, very clear that we can design a model with full participation of all stakeholders, and I'm quoting, from both developed and developing countries within their respective roles and responsibilities. What does this mean? It means that there is a space and there is an opportunity for all to participate, but each within their respective role and responsibility. When it comes to the taking action of the DNA, the DNA part, that is mainly maybe of governments because they are representative of their people, but the deliberations phase, the D, the negotiations phase, the N, would strongly benefit from the appropriate participation of all stakeholders, private sector, civil society, academia, and of course governments alike. So we have super interesting models, the precedents that we can rely on, and even innovative features that we can develop. And this is an incredibly timely juncture. So your session that you held is very timely, because actually the Secretary General has called for input and contribution from all about different governance models for AI. And I think the deadline is coming up soon. So this is very much the time to call from Abuja, Nigeria, to the rest of the African continent to contribute with ideas and to help shape that upcoming future. I hope that I didn't speak too much, but it's a global question. So so I think it's good to address it from all its aspects and dimensions. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Amr. I don't know if you would like to take questions at this point. However,
I think questions at the end, more or less, so that we can enrich the discussion with the contributions of all the other speakers.
Okay, great. So do you want to add to the contribution of multilateral diplomacy to the evolution of global norms on AI, particularly on issues related to ethics and responsible use? Do you want to add it?
Indeed, I think it's a much related topic. So I mean, maybe we already have started to tackle it when we mentioned the World Summit on Information Society. But what I want to say, Engineer Hadia, that we're not standing today in a void or in a vacuum. In fact, 3 days ago, today is what, 20th of September, so 3 or 4 days ago, the UN Secretary General, when he spoke to the general debate of the UN General Assembly, which takes place currently in New York, he featured AI, and he announced two particular processes where we can bring in multilateral diplomacy to contribute to that to this discussion. So first, he announced that the appointment of a high-level advisory committee, or actually advisory body, on artificial intelligence, which is invited to provide preliminary recommendations, or at least some recommendations, by the end of the year, and then further ones next year. And he also announced that the upcoming Summit of the Future, which he's convening in 2024, will deal and will address those issues of emerging technologies. Now that follows super well with also the 20 years on WSIS. Yes, I know that I said that today or this year is 20 years of WSIS, because WSIS was two summits, or two-phase summits, 2003, which we celebrated 20 years now, but 2005 is really the culmination of the WSIS process, and hence 2025 is the 20 years process. So we are very, very well timely in this regard to contribute to the ideas that can lead to global governance of AI, and once again, this is the time to contribute to. Yes, indeed, multilateral diplomacy is well suited, being a universal body through the UN, to accommodate this. So we have again a solid ground for multilateral diplomacy to continue to cooperate and to contribute, and events such as the African IGF is also a good opportunity to influence and to enrich that debate further. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Amr. This is Hadia again, for the record. So I have one more question for you. So how can multilateral diplomacy safeguard the rights of the global South within the global AI governance model?
Thank you, Engineer Hadia. This is really, I think, what should be the crux of our thinking now that we're meeting in Africa through Abuja, but across the continent. And I'm a little bit concerned here, Engineer Hadia. I'm concerned because we already have a development gap that was further challenged by a digital divide. And the more AI is introduced into the different phenomena of our social, economic, political life, the more we really need to highlight that aspect of the global South taking its rightful concept, or else we're going to exacerbate what is currently a digital divide. Let me start. Probably I would say there's concepts, participation, and capacity. So in terms of the conceptual framing of AI, we need to introduce a development perspective. The Secretary General of the UN, when he proposed a roadmap for digital cooperation, supporting global cooperation on artificial intelligence, he said that artificial intelligence needs to be trustworthy, human rights-based, safe, and sustainable, and promotes peace. Now, I would really like to encourage all of us to bring our voice to add a development perspective. Trustworthy is important, human rights-based is important, safe and sustainable is important, promoting peace is important, but development focus and development enabling and development accelerating is important. And this is not new, because when we as negotiators of Africa, of the G77 of developing countries, when we negotiated the World Summit on Information Society again 20 years ago, we identified that information society that it should be people-centered, inclusive, and development-oriented. So people-centered, inclusive, and development-oriented. And we really need to bring that back, that concept of development-oriented that we established and enshrined 20 years ago. I am concerned because I see it evaporating or fading away maybe day after day, and is not cited anymore. And it's such a pity that diplomats and negotiators from the developing countries have succeeded to enshrine that concept and that dimension, while we see it fading away. So conceptually, we should really tie AI, any discussion on AI, to that being development oriented. So this is the conceptual one. The participation one we really need to ensure that our experts, diplomats, and other actors are well endowed and enabled to participate in these discussions. Unfortunately, we don't see as much as that as possible. Let me recall paragraph 65 of the Tunis commitment that was issued in 2005 as a result of the World Summit on Information Society. And that is a paragraph that I personally helped draft. I'm very, very tied and attached to it. What does it read? It speaks about internet governance, but it can easily be, we can take internet governance out and put AI governance in, and that would still hold. The paragraph says we underline the need to maximize the participation of developing countries in decisions regarding internet governance, which should reflect their interests, there is developing countries, as well as in development and capacity building. So for sure, the developing countries and Africa in particular must be well represented and participating effectively in such processes. Third is capacity, and I think here Diplo Foundations and others are doing a good job to raise the capacity of negotiators and experts from developing countries, Africa in particular, and of course, of raising the awareness, because you would not even identify the capacity needs unless we are aware of how important these issues are. Super important, Engineer Hadia, from Abuja forward is to have the Global South and Africa in particular's voice and interests and positions well articulated and defended throughout the upcoming processes. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Again, this is Hadia for the transcript. So now I want to go to Ms. Noha to talk about AI governance and civil society. My first question to Noha would be, can you share with us examples of AI applications that demonstrate the importance of embedding ethical considerations in the design phase of AI? And I'll give you one more so that you can actually handle both of them together. And what's the link between governance, civil society, and AI? I think it's very important to highlight and talk about the role of civil society. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Hadia. I'm sorry, I've got some cold, so my voice may not be super clear. Okay, I'll start with answering the second question. So I believe there is a strong link between governance, civil society, and AI, because developing AI strategies on the national or regional or global levels need to match the community strength or the national or local strength and needs. And this need to be done by fostering collaboration between government agencies, private sector, AI leaders, academia, and civil society. So they can all work on help shaping regulations to attract, creating more AI based solutions and encourage using or adopting responsible AI. AI-based solutions can help with in a number of ways, including making better decisions, improving efficiency and effectiveness, and enhancing transparency and accountability. And they have to be designed to be fair and equitable. Many AI applications need to be based on ethics and to avoid any discriminations that can harm users, like discrimination based on gender, discrimination based on background, based on faith, or whichever reason. Back to you, Hadia.
Thank you so much, Noha. This is Hadia again for the transcript. So how can we promote responsible AI, and what is the role of the civil society in this? Thank you.
There are many ways to promote the use of responsible AI and adopt it. And the role of civil society is crucial because right now where many nations are drafting their responsible AI charter. In Egypt, the charter of responsible AI was issued recently, and currently the EU is working on developing their AI Act. So we need a clear role for civil society in this process. So there are many ways to promote this usage, including collecting data sets. Data analysis is crucial here, getting the correct insights, getting a good and suitable number of insights during the development of the tools and applications, and to have evidence-based decision making and for building good solutions. We need to have AI public policy dialogue and policy making, and engage policymakers and different stakeholders to influence AI-related policies. We need to have the civil society acting as a watchdog role to promote transparency and accountability when developing AI policies. And we need to, of course, have the user engagement and feedback. Always seek feedback from users, which are mainly the citizens, the normal people. We need to have to use AI and technology for social change, to leverage technologies, to use the updated tools from hardware and software to advocate for sustainable policies. We need to adopt smart decision-making by using AI algorithms to analyze complex scenarios, predict outcomes, and recommend optimal course of actions. Of course, we need to, with the help of civil society, fighting disinformation stereotypes, including discrimination based on ethnics or faith or whatever. All of this while ensuring transparency and accountability, also digital security and privacy. Lastly, and here comes the role of civil society, that they can lead this area by developing educational and informational materials and awareness campaigns on the good usage of AI and how to adopt a responsible AI. Thank you. Hand it back to you.
Thank you, Noha. Indeed, there is a big role to civil society there, and how can actually civil society from one place collaborate with other civil societies on that same topic? Like, does it need to be local?
It doesn't need to be local. It doesn't need to be highly technical or like talking from high level, but it can be even by citizens dialogue. I've joined the program by Goethe Institute called AI to Amplify. It was mainly like discussions around the impact of AI on different areas of our lives. So I believe such discussions can be beneficial when we try to draft recommendations to governments or try to develop new solutions.
Thank you so much, Noha. And now I would like to go to the pre-recorded segment. Dr. Sally will be mainly addressing or primarily addressing the issue of implementation. Could we have the video, please? Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And I'm very sorry that I couldn't be with you live this morning. But I hope that I can contribute to the discussion. And thank you very much for the organizers for inviting me and for allowing me to do this talk pre-recorded. So today I'm going to speak to you about responsible AI by design, and especially kind of the life cycle or the implementation aspects of it. So I'm going to dive right into the topic because it's a very large topic and we only have a very limited amount of time. I would say that the first step towards a responsible by design AI system has to start with the set of values and principles that are going to guide your AI system implementation. And there are many of those available today, some of them more kind of global or universal than others, some of them developed by international organizations like the UNESCO recommendation on ethical AI or the OECD principles on responsible AI, or many other sectoral ones as well. There are also ones that have been developed by countries. So in Egypt, for example, we have the so-called charter, the Egyptian Charter on Responsible AI, which is kind of the Egyptian interpretation of many of these global agreements like the OECD and the UNESCO ones. So some countries have adapted those values and principles to their local contexts. Some have decided to adopt them the way they are. Many companies have actually developed their own set of principles and values, which kind of poses a problem in itself, because ideally you want a set of common values and principles so that you know that an AI system developed in country A will also be acceptable and considered responsible in country B. That is not the case today. At the UN, we're working towards hopefully consolidating those not only values and principles, but also hopefully also working towards a consolidated framework that can be binding to governments and that they can enforce locally the way they want, evolve into legislation or any other kind of binding instrument that can compel everyone working in the AI domain, whether it's governments or private sector or indeed research and academia, to abide by the same values and principles and ultimately by the same rules and regulations. But we're still a little bit far away from that. But as far as we're concerned today, we need to choose a set of principles to abide by. And of course, these principles have to be relevant to the context, to the specific application where the AI system is to be deployed, but they're not enough. They're just a set of guiding high-level thoughts. Like, for example, transparency and explainability is one that is widely used. However, if you look at it from a technical standpoint, explainability is not something that you can achieve with most AI systems, especially deep learning systems today. So it won't really be feasible or possible to even consider it as a principle that you must abide by. And we'll kind of stay with the theme of transparency and explainability throughout my talk, so we can at least have some tangible associations to what this might look like in practice. But let's say you've chosen a set of values and principles that will guide your AI system implementation. The next thing you need to do is an impact assessment. And this needs to be done upfront, not post hoc, because it will, among other things, decide whether you actually go ahead with implementing this AI system. So during this impact assessment, you need to ask yourself questions like, what is the problem that AI is trying to solve? And this is extremely important to clarify upfront with the users of the system and the domain experts who are going to guide your implementation. So if it's an AI system for healthcare, you need healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, administrators, etc., If it's something for agriculture, you need your potential users, the farmers, the agricultural engineers, the traders, whoever is involved in that entire value chain. And once you've identified the main problem that AI is meant to solve, you also need to decide what's the best way of solving it. So you need to take a step back and say, why am I thinking of using AI to solve this particular problem? What is it about the problem that requires an AI solution? And can it be solved any other way? And if it can, it should. So AI should be your solution of last resort as opposed to your solution of first choice, because of the things we're going to discuss today and many other considerations. Unfortunately, in many cases, AI is chosen because it's cool, because people just want to say that they absolutely not the right way to go about it. The right way to go about it is to find compelling arguments for why AI should be used. And if you've decided that this is the best way, and if all of your stakeholders are okay with this, then you need to dive into the impact assessment of deploying this solution. And actually, when I say deploying, it starts even with the design and development. So at every stage of implementing this AI solution, what is the impact going to be on the world at large? And impact can be technical, can be financial, can be social, ethical, legal, environmental, of course, is a very important consideration, and not just because I work for the UN Environment Program, but because AI really does have a very considerable environmental footprint that should not be ignored. And once you have that entire list of potential impact, you then need to discuss them with the impacted groups and make sure that there's a trade-off, there's an acceptable trade-off between risk and reward. So that if you go ahead with the implementation and some of these impacts come to life, the groups in question will be okay with them, or at least you will have mitigation strategies for them. And then once that is done, you need to start building a risk assessment methodology or strategy into your software development lifecycle from the beginning to the end. So I used to work for an AI for healthcare company, and we used to have two kind of life cycles. One is the standard software development life cycle, and the other with the risk assessment built in. So that we're always looking at what is the right, I apologize for the background noise, what is the right way to assess risks at every step of your development and deployment life cycle. For example, data quality. What happens if it's not adequate? How are you going to ensure that it's fit for purpose? Things like data drift, which is something that happens quite a lot post-deployment. How are you going to deal with that? Bias, erroneous outputs, and we'll get to that in a minute. Maintainability of the system, availability of staff who are actually qualified to decide on the relevance and correctness of the outputs, but also to be able to maintain the system from a technical standpoint. All of these are extremely important points that you need to build into your life cycle at every step of it. Now, AI does lend itself to an agile development methodology, but only to some extent, because there are some parts of it that need to be very waterfall, like, for example, user requirements and user needs, and involving impacted communities, having that end-to-end impact assessment from the beginning, as I said. You also can't really always adhere to a strict sprint schedule. So not everything will be doable in, for example, 2 or 3 or 1 week sprints. So you have to build some flexibility into your development schedule so that some parts of it can be a bit more on the waterfall side, and some of it can be agile. However, it is very agile in the sense that it has to be iterative by nature, because at every step of the way, whether it's data collection, data cleansing, data engineering, preparation, training, and the entire list of the chain, you absolutely have to stop and think and validate the outputs and the current state of implementation with your users and various stakeholders. And quite often what you end up doing is you end up to you go up to the training stage, and then you think you've done a good job, then you go into validation and you realize, for example, that there's overfitting in your model and you have to go all the way back to model selection. Sometimes you realize there's actually a problem with the data, so you have to go back to fixing the data sets. So it has to be iterative in that sense, but it can't be strictly agile. And like I said, after every step, you absolutely need to validate with the users, especially with your domain experts who are ultimately going to judge the output of the system. And why this is important is because the worst thing that can happen in an AI deployment is that you get results that you think are okay, that look correct, but actually are either false or misleading or inaccurate or irrelevant. And this can be problematic because it can lead to erroneous decisions and possibly even impact someone's life. Which leads me to my last point, which is, how do you even develop these risk assessment frameworks? And there are some developed, one famous one is the one by NIST in the US, that is a risk assessment framework for AI systems in general. The EU AI Act has also attempted to classify risk based on sector. But I think eventually we'll have to evolve those into more detailed risk assessment frameworks for application types, so we can treat, I don't know, an AI system that optimizes ad length, for example, on social media platforms, with an AI system that controls life support machines in hospitals, for example. Very different use cases, very different levels of impact on someone's life. So it's important to have appropriate risk management and assessment and mitigation mechanisms for each of those. And then ultimately, I think we'll have to evolve to something like a certification mechanism for AI systems, probably similar to the one we have for medical devices around the world, where not everyone has the same standards worldwide, but they are interoperable. So that if you develop a system in the US and you want to sell it in Europe or in Africa, you still have to abide by the rules and regulations of those countries and regions. So I'll stop there. I hope this was useful. I'm sorry I can't be there to take questions, but I hope we can stay in touch. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the event. Bye.
So we thank Dr. Sally for her pre-recording. Again, Dr. Sally should have been with us live virtually, but that was not possible. So now I would like us to go to the, if we can have the presentation again, please. What I would like to do now is look at use cases like AI-powered applications and tools, and see the impact of AI by design on the development of those applications, or the possible impact of AI by design on the development of those applications. The first application I actually added yesterday, and I added it because yesterday there was a discussion going on in one of the sessions on misinformation and disinformation with Meta, specifically with Meta. So can we have the slides again, please? Thank you. Yeah, the next slide just after the video. It's fine. So the first use case is AI-powered content moderation on social media. So what I will do is present the use case and then present the issues, the issues that could actually be related to this, the issues and governance challenges that are related to the use case, and the governance challenges associated with it. So again, I added this use case yesterday, and it's AI-powered content moderation on social media. So issues, content filtering and freedom of expression. Social media platforms use AI algorithms to filter and moderate user-generated content to prevent the spread of harmful or illegal content. However, this can sometimes lead to the suppression of legitimate free speech and expression. So what's the governance challenge here? It's striking a balance between content moderation to prevent harm and safeguarding users' freedom of expression, while establishing clear guidelines for what constitutes acceptable content. So another issue, bias and discrimination. AI content moderation systems may have biases in their decisions, potentially leading to the unfair treatment of certain users or groups based on factors like race, gender, or political affiliation. And then what's the governance challenge here? It's implementing regulations to detect and mitigate bias in AI content moderation algorithms, along with mechanisms for transparency and accountability in decision-making. Privacy concerns. AI algorithms used for content moderation may process and analyze user data, raising concerns about user privacy and data protection. The governance challenge here is developing privacy, preserving AI content moderation methods, and ensuring compliance with data protection regulations. Misclassification and false positives. AI systems can make mistakes in identifying and moderating content. False positives, where benign content is incorrectly flagged as harmful, can harm user experiences and content creators. So the governance challenge here is establishing mechanisms for users to dispute content moderation decisions and improve AI systems accuracy while minimizing false positives. Accountability and transparency. So the issue here, users and content creators often lack transparency regarding how content moderation decisions are made. Accountability for these decisions may be unclear. So the challenge here, the governance challenge here, is requiring social media platforms to provide transparency about their content moderation process, including how AI algorithms are used and mechanisms for users to appeal moderation decisions. International variability in standards. Different countries have varying standards and regulations regarding online content. This can lead to challenges for global social media platforms that must comply with diverse legal requirements. The challenge here is navigating the complexity of international regulations and norms while ensuring consistency in content moderation policies, especially for multinational social media companies. And yesterday, actually, one of the participants I asked the presenter from Meta if they developed their rules and regulation in accordance to European and US standards, or do they also take African rules and legal aspects into consideration when developing those tools. So variability is also a big issue. Actually, how I would have ultimately liked to do this session is actually have the use case and then have the floor discuss the issues and the governance challenges. But I think because of the sort of limited time that we have, I have 3 more cases that I will just go through. If you would like to have the conversation, like I say the use case, and then the floor starts discussing the issues and the governance challenges, we can also do this. Or should I just continue? Okay, so I will continue. So the next use case, can we have this the next slide, please? So for the previous use case, which was about social media, striking the balance between preventing harmful content and preserving the open nature of the internet requires careful consideration and development of responsible AI governance frameworks. So our second use case, AI optimized internet traffic management. So let's look at the issues that could be associated with this use case. First, network congestion management. As more devices and users connect to the internet, network congestion becomes a common problem, leading to slower internet speed. So the challenge is to develop regulations that govern the use of AI algorithms to manage network congestion while ensuring access to all users and preventing discrimination against specific services or applications. Bandwidth prioritization neutrality. Internet service providers and network operators often use AI to different types of traffic or services, potentially violating the principle of net neutrality. So the challenge here would be to establish and enforce rules that preserve net neutrality principles, preventing internet service providers from favoring specific or applications over others. So another issue, data privacy and monitoring. AI systems may collect and analyze data on users' online activities for network optimization purposes, raising concerns about user privacy. So the challenge here is to ensure that AI-driven internet traffic management respects user privacy rights and complies with data protection regulations. Another issue, fair access to high-speed internet. So in some regions, there may be disparities in access to high-speed internet services. AI-based network optimization must ensure equitable access for all users. So the governance challenge here would be to implement policies and regulations to bridge the digital divide and promote fair access to high-speed internet, particularly in underserved or rural areas. Number 5, accountability and transparency. That's the 5th issue. Users often lack transparency into how internet service providers and network operators use AI algorithms to manage internet traffic. This lack of transparency can lead to concerns about accountability. So the governance challenge here is requiring internet services and network operators to disclose their traffic management practices, including the use of AI, and establishing mechanisms for users to understand and manage decisions made by these algorithms. International coordination. The global nature of the internet poses briefly, effective governance AI technology to improve internet connectivity without compromising users' rights and equal access. So let's go through one more use case. If we AI so on a while I need access and defining liability frameworks that clarify the responsibility of AI developers, healthcare institutions, and practitioners in case of diagnostic errors. And then also interoperability and standards, and the governance challenge here will be to develop. This is another use case, but yeah, I think I'll finish the health one, and that's it. You got an idea about the and I invite you all to do this like exercise, like pick up a use case and start identifying the ethical issues related to the use case, and then the challenges and the solutions that could actually that could actually be a solution to the problem. So I just wanted here to like explain that with each and every use case, there will be those unique issues related to this specific use case that require special attention. So I want to stop here in order to go to the floor discussion. And so let's start the discussion, and we are open to questions or comments. Yes, please. Yes, there is a mic.
Okay, thank you very much. And greetings to all the panelists. Excellent presentation and moderation. I have a comment and two more questions. But anyway, so on the ambassador's presentation, talking about the global digital compact, you know, asking or maybe expressing concern that the global south has a position. Yes, the global south has a position. July 4 to 5 this year, in Cape Town, UNECA really facilitated a meeting to collate African position. And we'll be discussing it tomorrow. So we'd like to invite everyone to be there tomorrow when UNECA will be making that presentation and getting more input towards the global digital compact. And Ambassador also talked about the issue of AI, even yourself and other speakers As a coder myself, work in the space of algorithm practically and data, processing data, and working on the GPI, global public infrastructure like data centers and what have you. When we design these things, it's based on an objective. It's based on the particular benefit, we've identified. If you're talking about Meta, for example, is to enable people to share information. And we should not forget that most of this content, as you said, they are user-generated. User-generated at the local level. So the people concerned at the local level, the authority at the local level need to be more proactive at the local level to flag those things, because it's tough, because the deluge of data coming up, and to be able to supervise, monitor these things, it costs a lot. It's like, say, storing data. Some government regulations say you must store data for 30 days. Storing data for 30 days is a lot of money. So that's why we focus on just metadata, like in telecom, metadata. But we can't be storing the voices of everybody for 3 months. Some people, regulation require 3 months. So the point is that there has to be more stakeholder dialogue. Cannot just be multilateral. The private sector, who are the designer of these things, they need to be, in the room. Of course, the civil society, the academic and technical community, they all need to be in the room. So the question to the ambassador is looking at, some previous activities towards having a global principle when it comes to internet governance. We have the Enhanced Cooperation, the United Nations Commission for Science and Technology for Development working group. They met also about 8 years to have an agreement. Eventually, it didn't work out, and we're working on this Global Data Compact. So what is your expectation with regard to the next year meeting? What do you think? Are we going to have this breakthrough this time around? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Ambassador Amra, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Engineer Hadi, and I thank our dear colleague. I'm sorry, I don't know the name, so I cannot address you in person, but I appreciate your interest and engagement. I think I can take away two main points that I would need to address. First of all, I fully agree with what you mentioned on the important role of UNECA, the UN Economic Commission for Africa, together with the African Union Commission, into formulating a unified African position on these important issues. I was not aware of the session that is held tomorrow, but if my time allows, I would surely like to attend it. So congratulations for that. Please keep on engaging in it and promoting it further. So second is can there be multilateral solutions? And you mentioned some of the outcomes of the World Summit on Information Society, such as the enhanced cooperation, which to the best of my knowledge, I've been kind of away for 20 years, has not embarked on, but at least we have the Internet Governance Forum. And then now we have a new process that the Secretary General has launched, which is the Global Digital Compact. So what are my expectations? I think we have now the benefit of 20 years of experience. When we met in WSIS, that was really the first time ever for diplomats and IT professionals to get together. Even the way we dressed, the way we talk was quite different, but we did establish a common ground, which led to the adoption of both the Geneva outcomes and the Tunis outcomes, which I think is a very, very rich outcome. But what my fear is that some of it is fading away. There was a lot of intellectual effort and knowledge expertise that was employed and resulted in the outcomes, which is not as often referred to now as it was before. So I would think that we really need to re-energize that particular one. I fully agree with you that there are two more or less models, and that comes to the question that Engineer Hadia put to us. What are the models of international governance or global governance that could fit and be developed for AI? There's the multilateral model, which is mainly state-centric, and then there is a multi-stakeholder model, which puts all stakeholders more or less at parity. I do not see them as mutually exclusive. And I really invite all of us not to see them as mutually inclusive. You remember exclusive. You remember when we said that there is the DNA model in the deliberations and negotiations, we should have a multi-stakeholder participation. You mentioned civil society, private sector, academia, for sure, and add to them governments and other international organizations, because even international organizations such as UNESCO, which has worked quite into depth on the recommendations for the ethics of AI, ITU with its whole strand of activities on the good AI, and other institutions. So they also are not limited to in the member state or state driven. So my answer to you was yes, I agree. There should be a multi-stakeholder process, which would be the deliberations and the negotiations from the DN. The A, which is the agreement, which is taking action, that probably is best fit through a multilateral process, because this is where treaties are drafted. This is where declarations are proclaimed. So at that part, we would have a stronger intergovernmental aspect. Having said this, I recall that I recall once again what we wrote in Geneva and in Tunis within their respective roles and responsibilities. So private sector has a big role within its respective role and responsibility. Academia, the same thing. Civil society, the same thing. And of course, government as well. So this would be my take, but thank you for bringing in that aspect. And I look forward to participating with you in the session on UNECA and the Global Digital Compact. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Amr. I will be asking you another question, but I want now to go to Jamilo Adumo. Your hand is up. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. I have, in summary, 4 things to talk about. I would like to talk about the existing curriculum in especially the primary, secondary, and university level in Africa. If you look at the curriculum, it's really lay emphasis on the theoretical aspects. The students at the primary and secondary school, in fact, they don't understand, especially the background of the theoretical aspects. When we talk about creativity, imagination, and innovation. So I would like to suggest that the curriculum of the primary school, the secondary school, should be based on creativity, innovation, and imagination. Because the issue of AI is all talking about creativity. It's talking about imagination. It's talking about innovation. So people or the student need to understand the basic concept before building an application or codes. The next thing, yesterday's lecture, they have talked about AI fragmentation. I developed an application, AI application for prediction of assets and derivatives in the financial market, and it could be used for the prediction of climate change. I'm experiencing challenge when it comes to the IP, the intellectual property, issue of the patents, the trademark, trade secrets, and the copyright. So that a kind of barrier when you want to get the intellectual property of your invention in US, in Europe, and in Asia. I have spoken with my legal advisor that for you to get a European patent, you need to spend like 10,000 USD. Similarly, in Europe, in the European Patent Office, you need to spend that. And inventions will be a general scope. It needs to cover the global, the planet entirely. So when you release your invention, it needs to be protected when we are talking about data protection. So now most of the startup and the inventors are experiencing serious issue in AI when it comes to the prevention, protection of data and the intellectual property. So in this forum, this needs to be addressed, especially when it comes to the African startup and inventors. And lastly, the last one, the issue of model fairness and transparency. When you look at the existing deep neural network architecture, it's built up with the trial and error activation functions. The trial and error is basically an assumption. That is, I can decide to use a sigmoid activation function. Another person in this room could decide to use another activation function ReLU. And so we will arrive at different answers, different prediction. And therefore, this issue needs to be addressed globally because the existing structure lies on the trial and error activation functions. If you talk about it, people keep insisting using assume activation function. And finally, the issue of funding in Africa. We're experiencing serious issue of funding. For a startup, for inventors, to access funding is a terrible issue for Africa. And this forum needs to address this issue, especially to the startup and then founders. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jamilo, for your intervention. And indeed, you mentioned very important issues and points directly related to our continent, to Africa. And Ambassador Amr, I wanted to ask you about the impact that AI has on the practice of diplomacy as a profession and institution.
Thank you very much, Engineer Hadi. And indeed, this is a topic that we're all grappling with, diplomats, because actually the very essence of diplomacy is face-to-face and human contact and touch. So it merits a whole workshop on its own or a session on its own. But I would just simply maybe summarize that. If AI is well used, it can actually take away and take aside, thankfully, so all the routine tasks of diplomacy, thus enabling diplomats to devote more of their time, effort, and ingenuity to the human face-to-face contact, which AI will never be able to do. Now, how to do that, I think, is a topic for the next session that we will hope to receive an invitation from you to participate in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I invite the floor. Do you have any final comments or questions or issues that you would like to discuss? Yes, please go ahead. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, yes. My name is Jameson Olufi, the chair of the Advisory Council of Africa ICT Alliance. I also run a private business consulting firm and cybersecurity consultant to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. I just want to highlight the fact that AI is good for our economies, is good for the society. AI brings about more efficiency, it brings about benefits, okay, increases productivity. AI helps to really fine-tune processes. And we have worked in scenarios whereby AI has helped to reduce corruption to the very bare minimum. In fact, it's eliminated it in some instances. Because when you don't have to meet with anybody, you just click a button, you get all the statistics you want. So anybody can see it. So there is transparency and accountability. Okay. So by design, I know there are some that are kind of crooked in a way that could harm the society. But what we have been pushing is that it must be for the benefit of mankind, of the people. I think that is the major emphasis, because normally when you design is to benefit the users. There must be user acceptance, even to whatever is designed. Okay, but the emphasis now based on the military use, we have been seeing a lot of drones that are doing attack. We know about the war going on, across the world, and all this armed thing, that could affect mankind. So there has to be agreement, because state actors, they are really playing serious roles in this regard. So we want to plead that we should work together. Diplomacy should be at the highest level so that we can have agreement. During environmental cooperation, we are very close to agreement, very, very close to agreement on this basic principle we're talking about today. But unfortunately, it was truncated by one member. But I believe by next year, we should be able to arrive at principle. And it's for our own good anyway, so that we can have peace of mind as a community of humans moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jimson, for your comments. And I invite our speakers, Noha first, and then Ambassador Amr to share their final comments before I share mine and we close. Noha, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hadia. So I really enjoyed the conversation and hearing different perspectives from different fields and expertise. And this is a new field. This is a new area. We're still discovering what is AI and how we can manage it or enhance it. So everyone can contribute here. Do not hesitate to contribute. This is our future, so it's our role to make it a better future. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Noha. Ambassador Amr, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, moderator. I know time is tight, but just our colleague Jamilu, who raised the issue of education, I could not agree with you more. And in fact, I just posted in the chat, by mere coincidence, there will be a conference next week in Egypt, in Alexandria, called Interactive Learning Techniques, Implementing AI in Education. That's by mere coincidence. I actually received an invitation for that particular conference. So I hope that such activities and conferences can provide us with a seat for a closer look at this within Africa as a continent in general. But Jamilu, also I want to tell you something that is I think very pertinent to our African context, is that the African Union theme of the year for 2024, starting in a few months, is education. So I would strongly encourage you, invite you, and in fact all of us to bring in that aspect of education and how we relate it to AI through activities that will spread throughout 12 months of 2024. Commissioner Bil Hussein of the African Union Commission is a wonderful visionary African Union official who I'm sure will entertain such useful ideas forward. There was another question by also our colleague James. Indeed, AI is good for economy and society, and that is why we need to make sure that it reaches the developing countries and Africa in particular, and that there is no export control regimes like there are for other technologies, or there is no curtailment or conditions that do not enable Africa and developing countries to make full use of this powerful tool for the future. That's a whole other also array of issues that we need to think altogether of. Thank you, moderator, for giving us a bit of extra time, and thank you all colleagues for your participation and valuable questions.
Thank you so much. And this is Hadia again for the transcript. So I would say, generally speaking, building the trust among users, all stakeholders, the general public is necessary and essential for the advancement of AI tools and for successful adoption of AI applications. We all need to work together, maintain trust, and make it happen. Thank you. I would like to thank our speakers, Ambassador Amr, Ms. Noha, Dr. Sally, I would like to also thank all the participants and attendees, whether online or here on the floor with us in Abuja. I thank our organizers and the interpreters, and thank you again, and see you in other sessions. This session is now adjourned. Thank you. We have, okay, there is a tea break now, so you're